Democracy is supposed to be government of the people, by the people, for the people. But when this process of electing your leaders or those who are supposed to represent you at the highest level is marred with inconsistency, one begins to question whether this idea of the people being the most important person in the democratic process is true or just a fallacy sold to us to give us a lie. Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk on J11.9 FM. My name is Umis Chukwuemeka. You're welcome to the most exciting, the most interactive, and dare I say the most hard conversation, political, social show in the land. This is Let's Talk on J11.9 FM. I'm not alone this morning. I've got with me Chelsea EJ. Chelsea, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, America. Good morning, Plateau.
It's good to have you here. On the show this morning, we'll be talking about internal politics, internal democracy as it concerns political parties. Over the weekend, on Saturday specifically, we saw a lot of stories and also a lot of excitement in the All Progressive Congress as they conducted their party primaries for the House of Representatives in Plateau State. Across different centers, from videos to news, and a lot of conversation. And today, we'll be taking a look at what internal or rather direct primaries mean for our democracy. Is it good for us? Has it exposed us to what we truly are? Or is it the same old sham of the indirect primaries? All of this and many more on Let's Talk this morning on J11.9 FM. Before we introduce our guest this morning, Chelsea, what story caught your attention over the course of the weekend or this morning in the newspapers?
It has to be the one on the outbreak of Ebola because, it just reminded me of the 2014 outbreak and how the country, curtailed it and how, in 3 months, we were able to, just basically make sure that all the cases were curtailed and, all the cases were, stopped. So it made me wonder, can we replicate that again if something happens, if we have like an outbreak? And then it made me also wonder, okay, how secure are our borders, how secure are our medical teams in these borders? Do we check people that come into our country, for sicknesses and illnesses? Because that's how the last time too, someone entered the country and they didn't know he had this thing and he spread it. Do we have that in our borders? Who is responsible for that? But is our medical system able to take another wave of any disease attack currently?
I think we can. I know that as a people, we sometimes underappreciate the work that we do as a country. And sometimes, too, it's not out of reason. If you're in Nigeria, where you go to hospital and you wait hours before you get attended to, where there are barely bed spaces for people who need emergency care, it is normal for us to have these skepticisms. But I like to say the predictor of the future, not all the time, but most times are the past. And the past, we've seen that Nigeria has been able to curtail this. Like you mentioned, Ebola almost a decade ago, we were able to curtail it, did it very well. Even the West was surprised. COVID-19, we did very well, that they were shocked at how well we could manage it. So given this recent histories of how we're able to curtail such outbreak of diseases, I think we can. I also would like to say that Nigerian medicine or the Nigerian medical profession, it's not as bad as we make it seem. Yes, we do not have enough in terms of resources beyond manpower. We do not have enough beds. We do not have enough medicines. I remember seeing in the newspaper some days ago, I think some weeks ago, about how much was released. I think over 36 million was released from a budget of billions of naira for medicine. That is a problem. But I think that professionals, whether they are lab scientists or doctors or nurses, are some of the most diligent we have in the world. And again, given how we've handled all of this in the past, I truly believe that we are going to do well. The country is now aware of it and they're doing their best to ensure we do not have any outbreak. Also, I think it's almost impossible for somebody not to pass through the borders with Ebola. I'm not saying we can't do it, but it's almost impossible. Millions of people moving to the country or thousands of people moving to the country every day. The system that is supposed to check for these things are not as airtight as they should. But given that we are aware now, given that the government is now making efforts to stop this from spreading and becoming an outbreak, I think we are going to do well. And so every Nigerian out there, be careful. In the coming days on J11.9 FM, we'll do well to inform and educate you as it concerns Ebola. Well, our guest joins us this morning in the studio, but before we introduce him, I saw a very interesting story today on the Punch newspaper. And got me, not on the Punch, rather, on social media, where Desmond Elliott said that he's what's the word? his security team had been removed from him. Today, I think tomorrow or next tomorrow, I can't remember which of the days, it's supposed to be the primaries, APC primaries for House of Assembly members in Lagos State. And it got me thinking about Desmond Elliot. And funnily enough, and this is a very funny story, I had a very weird dream, which is weird. I did not know how that dream came about, but I remember speaking to a boss, somebody I respect a lot, Tokpemi Akinode, and we're supposed to have Desmond Elliot here on the show, which is wild. And I spoke to him like, oh, what kind of questions should I ask him? What are the things he has done for his local government? But beyond that, I think the idea of godfatherism in politics would never go away. Yeah. And I know that as young persons, people often say, oh, we need to have a political system that doesn't have godfathers. And it does sound nice in the ear. It sounds nice on paper when you think about it from an everyday person's point of view. But when you go into politics, and this cuts across not just Nigeria, but almost every political system in the world, from the US all the way to UK, there would always be people whose influence would matter in a person's political journey. Yeah. And I think for Desmond Elliot, and the conversations on social media has been neither here nor there. Some talked about, if you remember, some months ago, where there was a ruckus in the Lagos State House of Assembly to remove the speaker, Mr. Abasa, and people said, hey, Desmond Elliot was part of it. And if you also remember, the current chief of staff to the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, who was the former speaker of the House of Representatives, is supposed to be Desmond Elliot's godfather in politics. He picked him, in the words of Nigerian parlance, from the gutters to the pinnacle of Lagos State politics. And I remember watching the video of his where he was talking about how the president called him and said, hey, your boy Desmond Elliot is one of the persons behind the removal of the Lagos State speaker. You should rein in on him. And he said he tried to rein in on Desmond Elliot, and Elliot would not listen to him. In his own words, Desmond Elliot almost got him sacked by the president. But as God would have it, like we often see in this part of the world as well, he was saved by it. And it got me thinking about how godfathers would never be a thing of the past. The way Nigerian politics works, you need somebody at the helm of affairs, somebody who might not be directly involved in the politics, but has enough influence to decide your fate. And right now, Desmond Elliot is facing that. I also saw a video of him where he was pleading and shedding tears like a 2-year-old whimpering child and saying, hey, God, forgive your boy, forgive your son, we've done these things. And again, why godfatherism is becoming a staple and a mainstay in Nigerian politics, it begs the question, if political office holders who are supposedly, and I use the word carefully there, supposedly voted into power to represent the interest of the people, are now more concerned about pleasing their godfathers, what is the role of the people? If the people, who are supposed to be the most important person in the democratic ideal system, are often treated as the last and the least important person, does the system really work? Because most times when you see these persons go there, they are more concerned about pleasing their godfathers. Why Desmond Elliot does not represent the entirety of Nigerian politicians in the House of Assemblies or House of Representatives or Senate, we have seen this too many times, where they are more concerned about how can I repay my godfather? What are the things I need to do so my godfather will not be angry with me? Question is, as a people, do we actually have the power? Like I mentioned in my introduction, the APC primaries happened in Plateau State, and some would say the people had power. But there's also the question of, do they really have the power? Those who won those elections were the representatives of the APCs for House of Representatives. Are they the people that the masses want? Or are they the people that the elites want? It's a very important question. And to help us understand all of this morning, we've got Mr. Santos Larab joining us live on the studio. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Very good morning to you, and thanks for inviting me.
It's good to have you here, sir.
Good to our brothers and sisters out there.
First off, let's start off with the APC primaries. Before the primaries, internal politics and internal democracy. The idea of primaries and direct primaries in political parties has been a long-standing conversation in Nigerian politics. As far back as 2019, 2020, we saw how former President, late President now, Muhammadu Buhari, kicked against it. We saw how IPAC also said, hey, we are not mature enough for direct primaries. This time, for the first time in a very long time, most forever in our history, it was made compulsory either direct primaries or consensus. My question is, as a democracy, is Nigeria and our political parties mature enough to hold free, fair, and justiciable direct primaries?
It's good that you brought this question as a starter. The truth about it is that you are talking about democracy, but very many times I tell people that you need to also understand the difference between civil rule and democracy.
Okay.
Democracy comes with its own variables and elements. We'll get there. And then civil rule can just be that you're a civilian, I'm a civilian, and we occupy you in power. But again, the mentality must also define what we're playing. You see, Nigeria stepped in at the Fourth Republic into what you call a civil rule. Till date, we've not seen anything close to a democracy. Where we are today is the worst part, because once you have civilian dictatorship, that's the worst kind of dictatorship you get, where someone without a gun but using state resources to manipulate and to aggravate poverty and send people cliff hanging. Let me keep this by the side. The other part that you talked about is about democracy within parties. And addressing that, you would never think that having a direct primaries is not the best option to consensus. And I would tell people, when you talk about consensus as a word, what it means is an agreement. You and I, we all agree. And when we agree, and that agreement syncs well with everyone and is a win-win situation, then that's a consensus. When we leave that level, you come to an environment within a party. Now, because we're talking about what parties would do, you see the danger is that today the ruling and the manipulative platform is the APC. All other parties are waiting to see what will happen in this platform. And that means that they are looking out to take examples. That would foreclose the space of what you call democratic practice. If you do the right thing in parties, it brings about transparency.
Yeah.
And the only way you can get transparency is to give everybody a power to his vote. So if I'm a member of a party and I carve your card, as a member of the party, my vote should be the same with that of a governor, of a president, because it's one person, one vote.
Yes.
So if he has a right to nominate by his opinion, I also have a right. But again, you see, they are bringing in, before now, in the 2022 Electoral Act,
Yes.
you find out that there were 3 levels. Consensus, indirect primaries, where you have delegates, and then they were bought. The mandate of the people were bought off individuals who thought that their poverty would be eradicated by buying them. And then you also had the direct primaries. Now, because they know that they cannot sustain that last economy of indirect primaries because of betrayals, they collect their monies and the rest. Tinubu is a clear example. Everybody saw the convention of APC that made him. But a lot of people know that it was bought. So here we are, that we're seeing a system where it should also bring a vista of transparency. And yet it is going to be abused. It has already started being abused.
How are they abusing it if the people will go out there to vote?
No. And that's why you see the direct primaries in itself gives you, even at parties, they wanted consensus. There are areas where they use consensus.
Yes.
And then those who did impose that consensus on stepped out.
When we say impose, what do you mean by impose consensus?
Imposition, if I come and say you are a consensus candidate, what process did they take?
Ideally, they say that they're supposed to, every member who bought the form is supposed to sign an agreement to say that we all agree to this person being the consensus candidate.
I was here in this station, and I'm glad that it was in this station. I'll take you to section 87 of the same Electoral Act, 2026. 1, 2, and 3. Where is the consensus? Where is the paper that they signed? See, I also raise a matter here. On a paper, you asked me to buy a form for 20 million, for 50 million, for 10 million. And on that paper, there is no clause to show that this amount I'm paying is non-refundable. The amount is to qualify my aspiration. Do I need to express my aspiration? No. The thought in my mind is an expression of interest. When I discuss with you or I discuss with my friends, it's an expression of interest. When I come out with a soft copy, it's an expression of interest. Do I need to buy a form for that? No. Because I've expressed interest to contest, I only need to buy a nomination form. And in that nomination form, do I need to pay for administrative charges? No. Because when the party officials go to sit, they collect sitting allowances. So why am I paying for administrative charges when administrative charges to be incorporated in the money you're charging me? So for 2-3 pieces of paper that are useless, yes, useless.
No,
Believe me,
okay.
I take responsibility for the use of the word.
Okay.
Not you. Those papers are useless. Because I can as well just write on a plain paper, I wish to be nominated. That is a nomination form. But again, it is an exploitative angle, and that is a weeding process, because even if you're the best candidate and you don't have that kind of money, you don't have sponsors. So by the time you sponsor me, I become a tool in your hand. And then you come because you have been given an opportunity to serve. And then I impose myself because I claim to be the leader of the party. I claim to be a governor. I claim to be, Mr. President said, how many votes does Bola Tinubu have?
One.
One. I have one. My vote and his own cannot be counted. His own cannot be counted as two. And that is why I always encourage Nigerians that the truth about it is not about apathy. The truth about getting a democracy, it's a struggle. And your mandate is your right. You don't trade it off. You don't waste it. So once you vote, it is your right to protect your vote. And that is one of the things when we get to the secondary election. Because internal primary parties, I don't have a card of your party. I can only advise those unsolicited, pro bono, free of charge, of what they should do. And I said, if you go to that same section, how many of those aspirants signed any form that whatsoever you do as consensus, we agree? So for me, if you're talking about internal party democracy, it should be to dissolve and demystify elite capture. What is happening in these parties are what we call, those who know, is elite capture. And who are the elites? You can find them in the religious bodies, you can find them in political circles, you can find them in the social, economic, in your development association. They go pick a few and buy them, and they say we sat down with ABC, whereas leaving those who have the rights. So for me, the bottom-up approach is what you call direct primaries. It gives everybody a chance. If you allow the aspirants to go out on the field to vote and be voted for, I like you, I stand behind you, I take responsibility for standing behind you. I become responsible. I can challenge you. But where you come and drop something like icing on the cake, for God's sake, if the icing is sweet, is the cake all sweet?
Okay, thank you, sir. But then you mentioned that most of these parties ask money for, for just declaration of interest before you get nomination form. But this money is that not what they use to fund whoever comes out as the candidate for during election? They help them with their campaign. They help them, push them during this election. So that's why they need this money. Or is there any way they internally generate funds besides people buying nomination funds?
The first point that should generate funds for parties, supposed to be your cards. How many of them buy those cards as members? The second point, I'm not speaking as an outsider. I also contested. I know politics. Knowing politics doesn't mean supporting. I contested. They don't use a kobo out of it to sponsor anything. The same candidate goes on to spend on the platform of the party. Yes, in ideal situations. And that's why you see, even in the US, there is a mark. In our electoral act now, there is a mark. If you're going in for House Assembly, 10 million or so thereabout, the figures I'm not too sure about it. But it's now in the law. You're going in for presidency, maybe 100 million or the rest. What is the monitoring scheme on that? In the US, yes, it can be monitored. That even when people donate, lobbyists give you money into politics. For everything you spend, you must give account of it. In Nigeria, who gives account? Rather, those in government, they dip their hands because they are close to the pot of taxpayers' money. Dip their hands, use money, spread it all around. That's what they do. And I challenge any one of them who, whether you're a governor, whether you're a president, to show me which party gave them money when they were contesting. And I again challenge them to show me that they are not stealing people's money, dipping their hands in it. And the truth about it is that they cannot say they are not doing that. And that is why the poor people on the street, little things that money should do. Show me what this so-called oil subsidy money that has been given to governors, show me one place where they used it. Plateau, a case study. Because I'm in Plateau, I'm resident in Plateau, I work in Plateau. Go to other states. In relative terms, you could see a bit in other states. If you go to Yola, you see Adama. Possibly you go to some other states, but how many? Lagos, possibly a bit, but in relative terms, as I mean, that means yours would be better than mine, mine might be better than his might be better than hers. But the truth about it is that the window of abuse is only found in Nigeria. What happens in Nigeria, whether in the political circle or otherwise, cannot happen anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Can't happen anywhere in the world. People, opportunists, given a space, and they want to lord it on people who gave them the space. The benefactors are the voters. these are bloody beneficiaries, quote and unquote. Yes, because some of them we knew them before they got into those places. That now they are there. Could they afford what they are eating now? They are eating taxpayers' money and eating food on taxpayers' money. You and I are not. I wake up every morning, he wakes up every morning, he's been here, he's working. How many of them work? Where were they before they got into offices? I challenge any one of them.
So if you're saying indirect primaries should that the downward approach should be the best approach, how about when they choose a candidate that cannot finance his campaign and his,
The party now, and then those who are also willing. You see, the truth about it is that if you want internal democracy in any party, it should be direct. Indirect is delegate system. It's no longer in the law. The consensus. So they brought in consensus because they know they can buy people. They know they can impose. Consensus leads to imposition. But again, if you want to interpret consensus on the other side, which kind of consensus would be better? It would be consensus of the people. And consensus of the people is that you have a vote, I have a vote, he has a vote. And by the time your vote and my vote and our own vote and his own vote, 5 of us in the studio, synergizes, it is a consensus. Because you agree that he's going to do it.
Yes.
I agree that he's going to. But again, you see, it's a direct consensus because it gives people the right of ownership. But when I just drop a person, even if I come here and just tell you people, do this, there will be rebellion. You will not do it.
Yeah.
Because the truth about it is that there is no respect to it. I'm not showing you I respect you, I'm not showing you I respect him, or so. So what we're advocating that parties should do, because not every Nigerian can be a party member. So they are holding forth on behalf of other Nigerians who are not party members. But again, because the template, the topography is Nigeria, we owe them, they owe us the responsibility, of doing the right thing in their various parties. So that they produce the best of candidates. That when they are also sponsoring these candidates to come and occupy positions, irrespective of your party, then we know that we are also culpable because we voted for a right system. Democracy is a gradual thing. But again, when you see people not willing to embark on truth, transparency, fair processes, you find out that democracy is DOA, death on arrival. Yeah. And in Nigeria, we have been moving in reverse gear 5. When we were in civil rule, the first template of 1999 to 2003, they are far better than this template. This template is the worst.
But you,
got in 20.
like you said,
yeah.
Direct primaries, which is something that the president and the House of Assembly assented to, if it's the ideal way to go about democracy, where the people are the most involved persons in the process of selecting their leaders, why then would you say it hasn't worked? For example, in Plateau State, we saw a member representing PKK, Honorable Yusuf Gagdi, lose his primaries in the APC. Some would say that is a win for democracy because the people's will have come to the fore, when before it was a rule or the wishes and the demands of the delegates that used to happen.
No. You see, to be corrected, I didn't say direct primaries. I said direct primaries is the best in enabling internal democracy.
Okay.
And that is why you see Tongshinen, the young chap who beat Gagdi, and it's almost a trouble team. How can you swap votes? And it's not even a small gap of beating. That young chap got over 29,000 votes. How many votes did Gagdi get? You see, that is also the demystifying aspect when you use direct primaries. They allowed the people, if they had used consensus, they would have given it to Gagdi. And that is exactly what they're trying to do. Because if you read through the comments all through yesterday night into today, even some of the votes that were declared by some of the, will I call them journalists? No, online, because they didn't verify what they were doing.
Yeah.
They only sent out because somebody paid them to send out a vote. Swap the votes for me. But again, the person who announced it was the person who was saddled with that responsibility to go and conduct the primaries. And I have the video, I think you also have,
yes,
that he announced it. So it wasn't as if somebody said. So we can hold him responsible because he was appointed by the party. And that became possible because of the direct primaries.
But someone have also argued that even with direct primaries, there has been the influence of certain political stalwarts in the decisions that these people make. For example, there are some rumors that, hey, the governor wanted some people to be there, and therefore these people want their primaries. How then would you respond to it if certain stalwarts' influence are more important than some would say the everyday person's decisions?
There is no game that there are no interests. But again, the point of interest is the point of responsibility. If the governor had imposed someone, there would have been a revolt. But now they use people We gave you direct primaries. Your vote is your power as a member of the party. Of course, you cannot remove the aspect of buying, of manipulations. You can't. But again, the people are the ones now who are taking responsibility for that action, not an imposition by so-called consensus. So at least the table has been opened. But again, you go and do, this is what we want you to go and do. And so the people went and did. By virtue of vote margins, you know that individual votes accumulated to 29,000, 5,000, 4,000, 8,000. That responsibility is not, so how, no matter what, even if they paid, but again, is the governor safe? What goes around comes around. If you don't want someone, others also don't want you. But again, the game is on a tough. The same direct primaries you use, you cannot say you use direct primaries on a Gagdi in PKK, and you're coming here to use, like in the northern senatorial zone, just not Bassa, the governor was involved in terms of what? Consensus. Go to the streets and ask how people are already feeling about that so-called consensus. So you see, you cannot have in one game 2 different rules, 3 different rules.
So the rules must apply to every game.
It must apply for everything. So if you're using direct primaries in PKK, because you don't like Mr. X and you like Mr. Y, then, why I'm using this so that, again, I don't use your platform to advertise people.
Yes.
It's the same thing you must use all across for House of Reps. If you come to Senate and you're using direct primaries, you must use it all through for the 3 senatorial districts. And that must also apply for governorship. Because it is the same party, you cannot be changing rules. Tinubu returned from, I think, Rwanda, his 3-country visit. He had to come back to Lagos. They did consensus in Lagos for governorship.
Yes, they did.
They have their system. Their system cannot be applied here.
Yeah.
Then Tinubu came back, and the kind of trouble for House of Reps, he told them, everywhere you have issues, there are issues in Ekiti, issues in Katsina, issues in Niger, issues in Rivers, and the rest. He said, look, even anywhere you have issues, go and do direct primaries. He knows the value of direct primaries. He knows who will take responsibility. The party members in that zone, you and I are here. Even if we're party members, we cannot take responsibility for party members in PKK. Because they didn't use the whole of the party members in Plateau State.
Only those in
Pension, Kanke, and Kanam. And I ask people, election is an opportunity. You're not there to serve 8 years. You're only there elected to serve 4 years. The first day you enter, know that is the end of your tenure. So that you don't kill yourself. You live willingly. And I keep telling people, anything you can achieve in 4 years, you can achieve in 8 years. Anything you can achieve in 8 years, you can achieve in eternity. So, as it is not an appropriation. It's not an inheritance. That place didn't start with Gabdi. It started with other people. It went round. It came back. You were opportune. Now that the opportunity, others are also getting in. For God's sake, accept what has happened. For as long as it's a system.
My other question, as it concerns direct primaries and politics, is like we've seen in Plateau State and seen in other states, there are many angry politicians who feel like they were promised something prior, and now that they're supposed to get the rewards of those promises, they are being, cheated out of that positions. Does it strengthen the politics within the party, or does it weaken it further?
It weakens it because it's betrayal. But again, on the promise that who promises you, what does he have to give you? Is power in his hands? Power is with the people. And the people are the members of the party. So anything can change. It's just like a captain of a ship. And he tells you that we are going to sail safe. Does he know the turbulence of the water? Is it in his hands? It's not.
No.
Politics is like that. Nobody, and I tell people, only mediocres want promises. If you know your what, you will go on to the field and then open your mind to a win or what people call lose. You don't lose in politics. You don't. If nobody knows you, at least others would follow you. What did you give them to follow and believe in you? So politics is a game of a win-win. So as it is, you don't expect that I sit down and promise you I'm going to give you governorship. I'm going to give you presidency. Does it make sense to you? With your intellect, with your level of exposure? It doesn't. So nobody can give. Even the governor and Tinubu who sits as president cannot even promise himself. Tables turn. And if tables turn, there is nothing you can do. So the truth about it is that what we're saying is that level playing ground, open field, anybody qualified, for as long as the constitution doesn't send you out by qualification, for as long as your party doesn't send you out by qualification. If they disqualify you on the basis of you don't have this, if I'm a criminal and I want to vie for election, the constitution bars me. The party bars me. So why would I jump in and say, no, I was promised, whereas I know that I'm a criminal? You say, I would have undone myself, not you undoing me. So the truth about promises, when I see people say, the chairman, it's just foolishness. It's mediocre thinking. Because nobody promises you. It's just like me coming to tell you I'm promising you life. Do I have life in my hand?
No, you don't.
So,
So, what about the role of INEC? Because we are complaining that this primaries were not transparent. There were a lot of injustice. But INEC is supposed to be there. INEC was supposed to be observing and making sure that this primaries go on free and fair. So is it that we're saying that there was no INEC official? Were they not duly informed before these primaries took place?
no. Not speaking for INEC, but I know that, of course, you cannot have a primaries that would lead to candidates if INEC is not there. Like when the PKK guy was also announcing, he said INEC people are here, police, security are here. So INEC must be there before you say you want to conduct your primaries, because the law enables them. They must also give you a pass that yes, you conducted primaries, yes, you chose consensus, and from the consensus, no, those who agreed to the consensus signed, because that is the evidence. And then no, you chose direct primaries, people stood, you counted, you saw it. That is also a mark of responsibility from those who were saddled by INEC, sent by INEC to monitor all across Nigeria. So as it is, you're looking at nothing less than almost about 180 polling units across Nigeria. Because the polling units now form the constituencies in local governments. The local governments form the constituencies in House of Reps. There are other areas like Wase is one, just Wase for House of Reps. Panshin, Kanke, Kanam, 3 local governments with the number of constituencies there, the number of polling units there. So INEC must be there because it's also part of their responsibility enshrined in the law, the Electoral Law, Act 2026, as amended 2022.
So are you saying that they didn't do enough to ensure that internal democracy happened?
No, if you call them, there is what guides. You must do either consensus, and consensus must be backed up by the fact that those you're running a consensus with agreed, signed. If you do direct, it's physical, you see it.
Yeah.
And then they are not the ones to go and be asking people, do you have a card of your party? No, that's not their responsibility. It's the responsibility of the party based on the list they submitted to INEC, because INEC has a list. So if there are contestation, there are levels of appeals. Go for appeals. Then at that appeal, they will now look at the list. How many people did you get in this local government? Do we have this membership in this local government? These things are simple. You don't need to go into violence, because INEC did their own part. They gave a deadline for all parties to submit the list of their members.
Yeah.
And all parties, 22 parties.
Yes.
Now as it is, submitted. INEC now is saddled with the responsibility of monitoring primaries for 22 parties. And that is why the primaries are not all on the same date. They are at different dates for a party, different days, and then different weeks. That's why the period for the primaries is wide. Now we would step into that of PDP, that of NDC, that of AD and the rest. So INEC has its own limits. They go by the law. Are they members of your party? The list is there. INEC can only be called as, that's if it arises. Set up your panel for appeals. What is the appeal? Those in the panel will look. This is our party list. You told us you got 10,000 in this local government. We only have 5,000 people.
How is it possible?
Correct. So what did you do to get 10,000 members? They are not on our list. These are areas where peacefully these things can be settled. Rather than the insults online, the insults here and there. These guys, when they go to eat, they eat together. When they go to share the money, a Mr. A will not fight a Mr. B.
No.
When they call them for settlements and they give them part of the cheese, they won't call you. So you better take charge of yourself. For most of these young people who are online and then insulting themselves, I just look at them and laugh.
All right. With direct primaries, the other flip side of it is the financial implications of political parties. Ideally, like you said, when it was indirect, certain delegates come together, they agree based on what they want, and like you also mentioned, they are paid to do that. With direct primaries, political parties incur more financial burdens because now they have to organize, elections in these words. How does this affect? First question: how does the extra financial burden affect the parties in their secondary, election? And secondly, would we say the person selected from these primaries are the best representatives for the party going to the election?
And let me start with your last question. You never get the best. Nobody is perfect. But again, you get the best in comparative analysis with what the people want. If you go to a community where you have all thieves and they want a thief, the chief thief as their representative, it's not my business. It's the chief thief of that community, and the thieves voted him. But they voted him through a process that is enshrined in the law. You go to a community where they want a motor park person because he connects with people, he has people skills. He doesn't have certificates that everybody is talking about, but he's qualified. That's their choice. They live with it for the next 4 years. You see, when you come to issues of selection, you will never get the best person. I'm not a perfect person. I have my limitations. But can I manage my own shortcomings? Can I join forces with you? Because it's not a one-person team. Yeah. You go to the House of Reps, you have 360 members. I do not believe all 360 of them would be foolish. You go to House of Reps, you have to Senate, you have 109. That's the legislative arm that take decisions on our behalf. As Nigerians, we're over 240 million, still counting. So here we are, that a few people take decisions. So it depends on the quality of people you vote. If you vote me because I came and gave money, I shared salt, I shared rice, you will eat that rice for 4 years. You will take that salt for 4 years. I gave you 100,000, I gave you 1 million. You will split it into the number of days and the number of hours in every day. This also brings me to your first question. The issue of them saying that the party is spending money, it's not true. How many of them in the party will spend the money that gets into their hands? Go and do an assessment of the monies paid by politicians or those who are aspiring. At the end of primaries, check and see how much is left. But again, for you to see clearly, look at those who hold political positions. If you know their houses go, you will see that the soup will change. What they wear will change. What work did they do? The cars they drive will change. Before the primaries, they were not part of that. So the party in itself still goes back on the politicians, because I have seen, even in the buying of forms, when these aspirants go to greet or do meetings with politicians or the party leaders, they give them money. They give them money. You see maybe 100, 200,000, 1 million, and the rest. Outside the forms they bought. So, all the movements, they facilitate their meetings. When you see there is a meeting in this area, it is the aspirant who wants to have a meeting with you that facilitates the meeting. Gives you money to buy water, bring the people from the other side. At the end of the day, he gives them envelopes. That is a system in Nigeria that will take time to eradicate. And it can only be eradicated, thank God, when people have hands-on. You sit in your house, on your bed, and vote direct. The cost of election is out of this world in this country. Out of this world. You're talking trillions. Whereas if you place those trillions in just primary healthcare across Nigerian local governments, 774, you would see the impact. If you place it in education, people will go to school for free. You place it on infrastructure, people will ride on good roads. But again, it is better channeled through a window that the vent is just to clear the box.
All right, the phone lines are opened: 090-5566-6699 or 081-218-77777. You can call in and ask your thoughts and make your contributions. We're also on social media. On Facebook is as JFM Live. You can also watch us live wherever you are. If you have friends and families who are not in the state but who want to be part of the conversation, you can also watch us live on Facebook. It's at JFM Live. And we'll do well to read your comments and take your thoughts on the show. Let's pick a first call for the day. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name and your location, please.
Yes, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, this is Saint Benedict calling in from Torringada. Good morning to your guest.
Good morning, sir. Please go on. You have 1 minute.
Yes, in 1 minute time, I really want to register my sincere displeasure on this process of primary election that the APC has just carried out. You see, when the process of election is not people-oriented, when people are not really carried along, like Jess has just mentioned, that direct primaries, is it actually driven by the people's ideology, or is it still by the political elite? The answer is not far-fetched, Emeka. And if the people is not actually carried along fully in a democratic election or even primary elections, we come to understand that even the process itself is questionable and it's also unacceptable. And then let me tell you something. There was once a time in Nigeria where some certain leaders would come and imagine an office, especially in the office of the first citizen of the country, and they will tell you clearly, as a Democrat that he is, that the process to which they brought him to be the one citizen of Nigeria is actually nothing to go by. It's undemocratic. It's unacceptable. And then Emeka, he started, building the process to which Nigerians are going to be carried along so long as political activities and governance is concerned. But we're in a particular era today now, unfortunately, since 2015, where even the people that are mostly qualified are rejected because of the issue of being partisan, or because of the issue of not having a good federalism, or because of the issue of somebody that doesn't have enough a large heart to be able to be corrupt to an extent to embezzle a lot of money. And the question the ordinary man like me will continuously asking is that the issue of the process of the election, especially in the primaries, is it people driven, or is it still about the elite and about the godfatherism? This is my take this morning. Have a lovely working day, sir.
Thank you so much for calling. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Emeka. Good morning, our guest.
Good morning, sir. Your name and your location.
Thank you very much. My name is Solomon Atangis. I'm calling from Jude Gate 4 in the quiz.
Solomon, please go on.
This primary election of APC has come, and then we have seen some things that happened in this primary election. You see, they told us that this election is Kato by Kato. That's those who are registered members of that political party will line up in a cell line, and then you go and give your vote to the person that you want to give the vote. But what happened, you see, they did not do the election in the time where eyeball to eyeball you will see your neighbor, and then they decide to do most of the things in the night. We transparent election will happen in the midnight. Tell me the truth. If anything good come out in the midnight, when you cannot see your neighbor eyes from your neighbor and your neighbor, you don't even know whether that person is a registered member or not. So you see, Nigeria need to do something straightforward and be honest in what they are doing. Honestly speaking, I don't even know what to say about this election, because I'm just looking at it as a election that is not supposed to be accepted by the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name and your location.
Dear Honorable, you start from Joshua.
Honorable Jude, please go on.
What I have to say is that anybody that wants, glory be to God, if you don't make it, just take it like that, so that next time you try.
Hold on, Honorable Jude. Before you go on,
I'm with you.
You said that anybody that wins or loses stick like that. What
That
if these
lose.
persons feel like they were
If
cheated
you
in the
lose.
process?
You take heart.
Okay.
If you won, glory be to God. For the interest of the people in the state and the party. Because when you lose, you try to make trouble, cause confusion. Are you for the interest of the masses or for your own selfish interest? Make peace reign. My brother Emeka, you know you are a man of God and you love peace. And I too love peace. So we need peace in Plateau. So may God help us.
Amen.
May God see us through.
Amen.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning for calling. Thank you for calling, Jude Sats. And before we continue our conversation, let me play you something from the ethnic. I'm trying to get the name of this person. I'm trying to get the exact name so I do not mess this up. But ethnic nationalities in Plateau State are urging for calm over PKK APC primary outcome. Here, take a listen to this. When we come back, we shall continue the conversation.
But from what we are hearing this evening, it's like some people are trying to truncate the election, which to us is creating a lot of tension in the state. And we felt as a state leaders, state ethnic nationality, we should address the press, because this will not just affect the party, but it's going to affect the entire state. And please, I'm calling on peace lovers of this state, and even the entire country, the leadership, the president, the governor, and other key stakeholders of APC, please come, join your force, join your voices in this matter, so that it will not affect the smooth process that has already taken place.
Yeah, that was the voice of the chairman of the leaders of ethnic nationalities in Plateau State. I'm trying to get his name now so I do not mislead. Yes, the chairman, ethnic nationality, Mr. Ambassador Ezekiel Bini. So I would love to get your thoughts on this. If direct primaries is supposed to be the people choosing who the representatives will be, it seems as though it is causing more harm than good for the politics and for the people of the state.
I don't think it's causing more harm than good. It's about people accepting defeat and then also trying to spur conflicts and crises. You see, the last speaker, of course, is his own thinking. Everyone, if you meet people on the street, they'll tell you, look, just accept it as it is, and so that there will be peace. He's talking and then speaking from the pains to which majority of people go through. As much as it might be emotional, and the truth in itself is both ways. If you don't manage the success well, and you want people to just accept imposition, it can also brew crisis. If they accept, those who lose, because they cannot be imposed, can also breed crisis. So it is also now the tax of those who are in positions. And the first tax is those who are supporters to accept what has happened. For as long as it's direct primaries, there is also the next level, which is an appeal, which is also the same thing that the ethnic nationalities, the leadership is also speaking to. Yes, of course, but again, it should also apply to all parties. Because by the time you only speak of only an APC, it might also look as if just because they are the ones in government, but it cuts across every. All the others are waiting. If it works in APC, then it should also work in other parties, which will also brew the kind of fear that people are exhibiting, which is genuine. So I think, yes, it's good that they stepped in at an early stage, at least, and then with a locality, because it looks now in Plateau, that's the only one that is brewing all the kind of trouble. So he should accept it.
And
He
move
goes
on.
for, yeah, he should accept it.
But he hasn't said anything
Go
officially.
for appeal.
Can appeal in the party or in the
Yes,
court?
they have an appeal panel in the party.
Okay.
I believe that maybe today or tomorrow, they should be able to dispose of complaints by people. He has a right to complain. He has a right to go on appeal. And if on appeal they find out that he won, fine. I don't have a problem with having the right processes done.
Okay, so lastly, there are lots of people that feel that there's a lot at stake for these primaries, especially for those that lost. So what do you think is going to happen to the aspirants that lost the primaries? Because are we going to see a wave of defection? Because now, even if they defect, there's no way they can get to hold any power or contest to the next election.
You're right. They have been blocked by
Yes, they have.
the position of the law. But there would be serious deflections, serious betrayals from those who
lost?
But again, the other option, you see, when you transfer your aggression, some of them were not wise. When they saw this, you have 22 platforms. If you know your salt and you know that, yes, you can mobilize people at secondary election, the most important election is secondary election. I appeared in the secondary election, not because I couldn't have gone through primaries of either of the parties then, when I contested Senate in the Central Zone. But I said, no, I understand the value of it. Let me give people the opportunity. So it wasn't anybody that blocked me. It was the people who didn't protect their mandate. It was the people who didn't vote for quality candidates, because I wasn't the only one. There were young people who were also quality persons who contested at different platforms.
Yeah.
And they took the cue. So we provided for the Central Zone alternatives, almost about 5 alternatives. Was it in SDP? Was it in some other parties? I came out in Green Party. Another brilliant chap came out in SDP. Another brilliant one came out in. So about 5 young people who also, of course, are exposed. So you see, as it is, the worst they can do is to make sure that the person in their party doesn't win. But again, they would also just be cliffhanging. That's what would happen, just like you said. There will be deflections, there will be betrayals, there would also be aspects of where they cannot even control what the people want to do.
All
not
right.
because you're telling them to go out.
Let's go social media quickly because we have less than 3 minutes to the end of the show. On Facebook, somebody is saying something quite important here. Agana is saying that let me get the Ghana's thoughts. Agana Abama Kiku says, please, why is the governor imposing someone on us in Just Not? We in Bassa have made our choice. Let the people of Just Not also make their choice. Bring the votes together. See who the winner is. Is that too much to ask, Mr. Governor? He says, Ishaku says he's enjoying every bit of conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in. Also, this person says, Kevin Lewis goes, let direct primaries be mandated by all political parties in order for transparent and credible candidates to emerge. Dimas Bala goes, direct primaries is the way to go. No to imposition of candidates. Let people decide who will represent them. And finally, Emmanuel Adams goes, in fact, direct primaries should be mandatory in order to also tell political office holders that the people also have a choice to decide. And finally, Ishak goes, this is a test for those who don't perform in their seat when elected. Let Nigerians show them the results after examination. Our time has come. Let's prepare for them next year. Vote wisely. And he says, our votes must count. I'm sorry, your final words in less than 30 seconds before we leave.
Yeah, I just want to commend all people. You find out that majority of Nigerians, whether those in the parties, various parties, and Nigerians, are also speaking of the fact that direct primaries allow the people, no impositions. The truth about it, allow people to take responsibility of their actions. And I want to also use this opportunity to thank you, JFM, for inviting me, and then for those of you who are anchoring the wonderful questions and the rest, in terms of also bringing it to bear in the presence of the people, so that we're all on the same page in terms of making sure that our country is on the right track.
Thank you for joining us. Shall your final words?
So when they go low, we go high. Don't let the situation of the country affect your integrity. Get your PVC today.
Like I always say, forgive your oppressors if you must, but do not forget what they've done to you. Adios. The news comes out by 10 a.m. Bye, people.
No station that plays more music. JFM 101.9.
Do not touch that dial.
Hey, yeah, now Rabi, with Rabi, but it's